Second question from Chuck Hare.
This is my second question, and what it pertains to is two or three different things. One, I'd like to know both of your opinions on whether or not you think that we should become more of a protectionist society, in that we seem to be pandering to everybody in the whole free world, but we're completely alienating the Anglo-Saxons, the American people, the people that basically are the backbone of this country do not have a voice or identity anymore. My second question is about the United Nations and what both of your opinions are on how we continue to prop up, meaning the United States continues to prop up the United Nations while they continue to abuse us in the worst possible manners and vote against everything that we stand for and what have you. My third question, or the third part of my question, and I don't mean to belabor this or drag these things out, but these are very close to my heart, is do you think that we should have a moratorium on building mosques in this country when we know for a fact that they use these mosques, meaning the Muslims, to plot against our military, to do acts of violence in many different manners and shapes and ways and forms, and as a manner to continue their rhetoric with the Quran and so on and so forth. If we were to go to one of the Muslim countries and we were to preach Christianity, we know we would be headed. Thank you for your attention to these questions. Thank you.
Well, Chuck, that's a lot to get done in 3 minutes. First of all, it's embarrassing, and I don't know that that's the right word, as an American citizen to see the president of this country, of the United States, to go over and bow down to other leaders for, you've seen how he bows down and how he apologizes for America. And, Ronald Reagan didn't do that. Ronald Reagan went over there and said, tear the wall down. And guess what? The wall came down. This country, I think a lot of people around the world respect this country because we've helped a lot of people. After World War II, we came in and rebuilt, our enemies. And there's an interesting history lesson, I think. If you go back after World War I, okay, this country took a protectionist, isolationist policy. And then we ended up getting into a worldwide depression, and people like Hitler and all Mussolini, all them come to power because people were suffering, and they're looking for other things. And after World War II, we learned something. We didn't take that protectionist, isolationist policy. We had the Marshall Plan, and we went in there and we gave human goodwill to help those people, because a lot of people are just innocent people because of the leaders in their country. And we helped them rebuild those countries, and now they're allies. And so if you can give people freedom and financial, economic security, I think that helps for world peace and freedom around the world. But when you go over there and you tell potential adversaries that, we might not do that, just like we say we're going to pull our troops out. It's the worst thing we can do. We should not telegraph to our enemies our intentions. What we should telegraph to our enemies, what our intentions are, that we're going to be in this war, we're going to go there and fight it with every resource the United States, the power and the might of the United States government has, and we're going to win, and we're going to bring our troops home. And but when you just drag this out and you telegraph what, your withdrawal plans, that's just insanity. The United Nations, it's a big problem. Our sovereignty is at risk because we've got the Security Council of the United Nations. They usually vote against us, and because they have the veto override and everything, and we need to either fix it or throw them out. It hasn't been working. I think there's problems. You talk about these other things. You didn't mention Sharia law. that's, you know, just unbelievable to me. I've got a good friend that's, he's a physician here in Ohio, and he's an immigrant from Iraq. He has been there for like 30 years, and his sister still lives over there. And he's told me more about the Sharia law stuff and what they do in the Muslim world, and it's unbelievable. And you know, but we got to get tough, and because we got to fix our economy, because if we don't fix our economy, the terrorists are going to win, because we're going to lose those freedoms, and we're going to lose our security, and there's no other place in the world to go for freedom and hope and a good quality of life, standard of living.
3.5 minutes is what I did there. 3.5 minutes.
Look here. Somebody beat me to it that time. My answer may not be all that popular, but my answer is going to be very honest and straightforward. I'm uneasy with thinking of America on terms of Anglo-Saxons. That's my personal opinion.
That was a bad choice of words.
Well, sir, you are very welcome to your freedom of speech, and
That was a bad choice of words, and I apologize for that.
there's no apology to me necessary whatsoever. But I know that there is a large sentiment across this country concerning that. But the fact of the matter is, you can't just draw a picture of what an American is. You know, we're a diverse country, and that encompasses diverse religions and all these other things. But as a member, you know, for 20 years in the United States military, I worked alongside great Americans from every imaginable walk of life. Some of those that wore the same uniform that I did were not even citizens of this country. But yet, in my view, great Americans, because they were fighting for these fundamental principles and these fundamental freedoms that we all cherish. Among those are freedom of worship. What I think, as far as mosques are concerned, if American citizens want mosques in their communities, American citizens simply build mosques in their communities. We have a brand new church, relatively new, in the community that I live in, and my kids attended. There was no government entity whatsoever involved in setting that church up, and there was no arguments as to whether it should be set up or not. As far as faiths that are foreign to, you know, a lot of Americans, such as Sharia law, I think that they have no business at all as far as American law. American law should be based on the U.S. Constitution, of course, based on the founding principles here. But all those things are intertwined. The issue of war, I'm not sure I recall the entire point of the question, but when the senator was referring to war, the problem that, as I see it, we're involved in 2 wars right now, but neither one of them were declared. It's required by Congress to declare war. Why do we keep not declaring war? Why do we keep just saying, that's cool? Oh, we got all these justifications, we got all these good reasons. Let's just go. Does America no longer understand that we have representatives in Congress that are required on their behalf to sit down and discuss these things before we send people into harm's way, before we send them over there to fight a war? I would agree with the senator that, yeah, we got to be tough. But we better start declaring war before we send ourselves into it and get the support of this country. Get in, get the job done, get back out of it, and let them clean up their own mess. Because on my watch as a congressman, I would never support a war. My time's up.
Was that the extra 18 seconds?
30 seconds.
30? Okay, thank you.
Okay. I'd like to make a point about Islam before we move on. There's a segment of Islam that believes that Islam is a form of government, it's a form of judiciary, it's an economic form, and it's a religious form. The people that come to this country that don't want to assimilate want to form their own government. They want to form their own judiciary, and they want to form their own religious view, and they want to impose that on other people. Okay, so you have two different issues when you're dealing with Islam. You have the group that wants to assimilate, become Americans, leave their radical beliefs behind, but then again you have the vocal ones and the ones that want to institute a Muslim government in the United States. So in that vein, can I ask both candidates, what's your take on assimilation? Should we require people to assimilate into this country when they come here?
Well, my view on that, if you think back when we had a lot of legal immigration back in the early 1900s from Europe and those the Eastern European countries, those people were coming over here seeking the American dream and opportunity, and of course to help build this nation was a melting pot. But there was one key difference then than now. One is they wanted to come over here and learn English and be Americans. Okay. Now you got a lot of people, like you just said, that want to come here and do whatever they want to do and not be Americans. We're in the melting pot. They got to melt. I guess that's the way to say it. And we passed a bill in the General Assembly, at least the Republicans did. It didn't pass because the Democrats held it up, if I recall right, that in Ohio, English is our language. And this was an education for me because we started realizing that one of these silly groups might come in and file a lawsuit, okay, and say, and you've seen it a little bit with the Board of Elections in Cuyahoga County, where somebody comes in and says, I need to go to the county courthouse and see the records, but I can't read English, so I want it to be in German or Spanish or whatever. And if you make English the official language, it makes a lot of sense. And I think you see a little division up in Canada because of the French and the English sectors up there. But well, number one, they got to learn, they got to speak English to get citizenship. There's just no doubt in my mind that has to be, and they have to be willing to want to be Americans and participate in this great